I
I
mean,
was doing some R&B stuff for Motown.
that's a blessing. What kind of R&B stuff were you doing?
I did a video for the Whitehead brothers. I don't know if you remember them. Their father was in the McFadden and Whitehead.
Okay.
Ain't no stopping us now. So I
Right,
did a video
right,
for
right.
them. Shades, this group. It was called "Tell Me Your Name, I'll Be Around." It was a pretty hot video, actually, shot in
Mhm.
Miami.
So
Um,
listen, you're in hot demand. You're doing all these music videos. What makes you say, okay, it's time to pack up and go to LA, man? Go to Hollywood, man. What's the deal?
well, a lot of my peers were moving out to LA, also. So, and it seemed like they were having a lot of fun. So, I put it on the table. There was a record. There was a production company I was signed with. They weren't in New York. They were actually in LA. I felt like I don't have a home base to go. There's no office to go to. So I was like, if you move me to LA, I'll sign with your company. Two companies were kind of bidding the same time. So I went with the sure one instead of the one that I wasn't too sure of. So they brought all my stuff out, shipped my car out, moved into LA, and like, I'm here. So I was here for a minute doing some more music videos, and it's getting more and more competitive as well, but still doing them. Got to do Hezekiah Walker's Let's Dance video, which I think was one of the longest running videos I ever did, because that gospel, it was like gospel hip hop. Um, and that was, I was living in LA, but I went back to New York to shoot that one.
How do you get to one of another rap cult classic, State Property?
State Property, aka Get Down and Lay Down. So
Yeah.
basically, I was reading Source magazine and I saw a picture of Beanie Siegel. I didn't even know who he was at the time, but they were saying that he's going to do a project like Streets is Watching. I was like, how can he be doing a project like Streets is Watching without me? I was
Right.
very influential and involved in that. So immediately hitting up Damon, like, what's up? What's up? What's going on with this project? Hitting up Shaka. She's like, you got to talk to Damon. You got to talk to Damon. So eventually Damon sent me the script, Damon Dash, and I read it. I was like, okay, this is definitely a hood. This is a hood fable. But I was intrigued because it was based off of a real gangster junior black mafia in Philly. So I was like, all right, well, there's some realness to this, so I can get down with that. But I had to convince them that I can do a movie.
Mm.
Um, I'm not sure who else was up for it. I'm sure there was other people up for it. But at some point, I was flown out to New York to have a meeting with Damon and Shaka, because she was involved. And then I had to have a meeting with Ron Rothhold, who was another producer who had I guess, the in with Lionsgate. Met with him, met with Lionsgate, showed them Streets is Watching, and they're like, oh, okay, we think you can do it. So that's pretty much how it went down. I'm sure it's never that easy for other people, but it wasn't that hard to get it. I think at some point someone already made the decision that I was going to do the movie, but that didn't mean the movie was easy to do. It was actually one of the hardest projects I ever did in my life. So
Bro, I
you
mean,
listen to the commentary on the DVD
yeah,
and you hear some stuff.
I mean, it was as real as it could be, but yet I'm just saying, kudos to you because that became just beloved by hip hop fans, for the real hip hop heads. And so, I mean, at this point in time, you are like synonymous with Rockefeller and some of the biggest visuals that are coming out of that camp. You do move to LA. Talk about the transition into to films. And I mean, I know of you from the Directors Guild of America. I know of you from working with the NAACP Image Awards and all that kind of stuff. Talk about that transition, because I know a lot of people have tried to do it. Some were successful, some weren't. Going from the music videos to now making that transition into films, and it sounds like Streets is Watching kind of laid that groundwork, and then State Property also furthered that journey. But talk about now getting into the filmmaking and then making some of these connections with some of these big film Hollywood organizations.
So I mean, just the fact that I finished the movie was a phenomenal feat for me. And my father was alive to see it, and he went to the premiere in Atlanta, and he was very happy with the movie. He was proud of me, so that put the feather in my cap. But Hollywood is a hard grind. So I got an urban movie, as we'll call it. So I'm still trying to do my own thing, as well as to keep my roots in the hip hop world. And I'm still doing other videos. I did a video for this artist named Lakey. She's from Belgium, and That too went number one, but never played here in the States at all.
Mm.
And I did some stuff with this group called Third Wish. Never played nowhere in the States, but they went number one in Germany. But it was a boy band from Florida. So I'm still working and I'm still making hits, videos, but it's still not hitting to where I want it to go. And then when Napster happened and people started stealing music instead of purchasing it, well, the record label world fell apart, including the music video world. So suddenly the work slows down. People who moved out to LA start to move back to New York. And I'm like, oh, what are we going to do? While I'm writing scripts and trying to get meetings and pitching ideas, I got bills to pay. So I ended up getting back to camera work. So I started to shoot for BET and VH1 and all these different venues, BET Awards and stuff like that, just to make money and make new contacts. So I was creating another lane for myself with cinematography. I had stopped editing for a minute because everyone switched to Avid and I didn't really know Avid. And then Final Cut Pro came out and I didn't really know that either, but I was forced to learn it. And then that's how I got back into editing. So I'm just starting to build it up again. In the meantime, writing and got into the Writers Guild and stuff like that. I mean, the stories I'm mixing them all up together, but yeah. You know, the train didn't stop.
That's the beauty of it. The train didn't stop. But you know, a crazy journey, a celebrated story. I mean, I think about the journeys of African Americans in this film industry, and everybody kind of goes different ways. You know, your journey from Harlem through like the music game, and like you said, you showed it. You started out, you know, as a PA, and you did sound, and then you know keep working and you grind. You get to meet a young Dame Dash and a young Jay-Z, and you start to do legendary stuff. You didn't know it at the time, but it would go on to be legendary.
Right.
You know, cult classics, you know, with these guys.
Right.
You make your journey out to LA, to Hollywood.
And then I went back, but here's another funny quick story. And
okay.
I had got a call from my old friend who I first got into sound with, and he was like, hey, you want to work on this show back in New York? And I didn't really want to do sound at all. But since he asked me to do it, I said yes, and it happened to be the Chappelle show. What? So I went back and worked on the first couple of seasons of Chappelle show. In my mind, I wanted to direct some episodes, but I had to prove myself. So I was like, went in there and talked to Dave, and he was a big State Property fan. He was like, "Oh, man, I can't do a Dave Chappelle accent, so I can't bother with that." But he knew State Property. So I just worked on that for 2 seasons. When they started to open it up, they were like, "Oh, Comedy Central doesn't want any hip hop or rap or music video directors to direct the show." So I was like, "I ain't that a bitch," because there was other directors trying to get it besides me, you know, and they were just not hiring any for whatever reason. There was no rationale behind it, and I knew the exec producers and all that, so it wasn't like I was afraid to mention it, but they weren't really bending over backwards for that. They just wanted to get comedy directors.